to try something new and challenge myself a little bit. It also so happened that I had like a bunch of pairs of pants laying around waiting to be fixed. So I just fixed them, decided to do them all at once and record the process. These are my sweatpants. I love these sweatpants so much, but they've always had this one flaw. The pockets are way too small. I'll have my phone in my pocket and I'll bend over to pick something up and my phone just like crashes to the floor. So I'm fixing that today by extending the pockets out. I've used scrap fabric for this because I just traced the same piece on the same side of the fabric. I'm unable to reverse it and have the pattern facing out on both sides of the pocket. So that's unfortunate, but it's a learning experience. It just means that my pocket has some patterns on the inside. I did leave some room around the pattern for seam allowance. My embroidery machine doubles as a sewing machine, so it's 2-in-1, which means I'd have to change the foot out every time I go to sew versus embroider. But they make it super easy with a nice little tool, and it's all good. Once the pockets were extended, I then was able to sew them together just to finish off that inside edge. Check this out, the Nintendo Switch in the unfinished pocket, the original pocket the pants came with, versus the Nintendo Switch in the new pockets. I can hold so many new things now, like keys, my phone, rocks. I don't know, what else do people put in their pockets? My second project is a pair of work pants I've been wearing to various jobs for several years now. They finally wore a hole in one of the knees, so I figured I'd practice darning on this spot. If I could go back and start again, I would use a matching thread color to the pants. I don't mind a visible mend, but the color I chose in this was really outrageous and very apparent. When darning, you should work on the wrong side of the fabric, so these pants are inside out the whole time I'm working on them. That means that the pattern you're seeing here on the back looks different than the pattern on the front. The tool I have inside the pants is called a darning tool, I guess? I don't know if it has an official name. It helps keep the fabric taut, and then it is held in place by a little elastic. That way as I'm working it's not sliding around. Another tool that I think would have been useful would have been a darning needle. The tips of the darning needles are rounded, so you're not constantly catching up on the threads. You're able to control it a little more easily as you weave back and forth. The needle I used was just a regular sewing needle, and it worked out fine. It just was a little frustrating at times trying to get it to weave in the correct spot. A little aside, I wanted to tell you or kind of explain part of my new obsession with mending and why I'm so interested in mending my clothes. It is definitely a practice in mindful consumption versus overconsumption.
Aha!
It's a little ugly on the inside, but when I flip it out around, it looks really good, and there's no longer a hole with my knee showing. Now there is just a pink blob, but it's just making my pants last longer for me. Definitely more apparent than I had expected to be, although I reckon if I did this with a black, you wouldn't even be able to tell that there was a hole there. It would just look like pants, especially from a distance. I like my little patch though. I think it turned out cute. The third project I worked on, you might recognize. These Dicky pants I actually mended in another sewing video. I took the waist in a little bit and I shortened the hems at the bottom so they'd fit me a little bit better. Unfortunately, my craftsmanship was pretty shoddy, and the seams that I sewed have ripped and need to be resewed. It's a pretty simple fix. I turned them inside out, and I laid the band flat where the seam was, and I reinforced that seam with a zigzag stitch. To help reinforce it even further, I've gone over the same spot a couple times with the same stitch, just to make sure it's a lot of thread. It is kind of visible with the thread color I chose, but it makes it easier for me to see what I'm doing when I do it like that. So these shorts you'll never see again. Just kidding. Look at these pants. I love these pants. I've worn them for several years. The knees are a little worn and faded, so I decided I want to turn them into shorts so I can have something to wear. The waistband's really comfy. They're an old style. They're like a jogger style, so it's not as trendy anymore. So I figured it was time to try and do something with them before I go ahead and donate them. Literally used a pair of shorts that I love the fit of and kind of traced those out. I cut them and then I folded them. I rolled them. That's it. I made sure the lines were straight, so I can wear them a little longer if I prefer, or roll them back up. They're super comfy for summer. This last pair of pants is actually a special pair. They don't belong to me. They belong to a friend. She asked me to hem the bottom of the pants so they'd fit her a little bit better. On her own time, I had her put them on inside out and decide where she wanted the hem to be. This first attempt was my first attempt working with jeans on my sewing machine, so I did end up getting a stronger needle, which was fun. As first attempts go, they don't always work out exactly the way you intended. That definitely happened here. So I had them all pinned, I got them all straight. I even marked where the seams were so I could make sure everything was lined up nicely. And then I machined it to attach everything. Going slowly, keeping it nice and tidy. You know, this was for a friend. It was more important to make it look good. I got it all attached, flipped it inside out, and immediately was like, ew, what is that line? I hated it so much. So I undid all my work, and I ripped it one seam at a time. Since that line was going to be so apparent, I wanted to make sure I sewed right along the hem where the hem would attach to the jeans to help hide it. I really liked how that turned out, and you can't see that weird line anymore, so I cut off some of the extra fabric, flipped it around. I have seen these on her since then, and I think they turned out really nice. They're a little wonky in a couple spots, but for a beginner, I'm really proud of what I was able to get done for her. Since I liked how that looked, I repeated it on the second leg. Beautiful. Turned out even better than the first. Thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, maybe subscribe, leave a like or a comment. It really helps me out and encourages me to make more of these because I want to make more and I need motivation. So be my motivation. Thanks for watching. Bye.